We stop now to acknowledge you
Yes.
as the author and the finisher of our faith. Oh, how great is that faithfulness unto each of us. Thank you, Lord, for this opportunity.
Thank
If you will just do what you're known to do.
Yes,
sir. Yeah, and your name will be glorified. Preach his word, and your people will be edified. We ask these blessings in the precious name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Every child of God said, Amen. What a blessing. My mind is running and raging. Wow, Lord have mercy. To Pastor Arnold, Derek Avery Arnold the first, and his lovely bride, to Woody. What's that song from, what's that, not Good Times, what's that one, the Jeffersons? Moving on up. Stand where many greats have stood, Woody and Derek, and let's see here, that's that other guy that's just as short as me over there on the right. Anyway, Williams and Jones and all of those great guys. It's a blessing to be with you here today and to see each of you. I see some faces I haven't seen in years, and some happy belated Mother Briggs. It's just good to be with you all, and to again, my thoughts are rambling here, but just many great memories. I have some privileges that many of those greats that I think of don't have, and that I'm a son. That's right. I'm a son. Right. So it's just good to be here. We want to consider a word. I told Pastor Arnold I would preach today, and that's all I plan to do. No communion or none of that stuff, deacons. And I say that hoping for a little humor in the situation. We want to take a look this morning at a very familiar passage of Scripture found in the 5th chapter of St. Mark. I say familiar, but not very often preached. Mark chapter 5. And we want to start reading at verse 21.
Come on, man.
There you will find these words. Let me get me some assistance here. When Jesus had crossed again in the boat to the other side, a great crowd gathered around him, and he was by the sea. Then one of the leaders of the synagogue, named Jairus, came, and when he saw him, fell at his feet and begged him repeatedly, "My little daughter is at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her so that she may be well and live." So he went with him. And a large crowd followed him and pressed in on him. Now there was a woman who had been suffering from hemorrhages for 12 years. She had endured much under many physicians and had spent all that she had. And she was no better, but rather grew worse. She had heard about Jesus and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his clothes. For she said, "If I but touch his clothes, I will be made well." Immediately her hemorrhage stopped, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. Immediately aware of that power had gone forth from him, Jesus turned about in the crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" And his disciples said to him, "You see the crowd pressing in on you. How can you say, 'Who touched me?'" He looked all around to see who had done it. had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, fell down before him, and told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well,
Yes.
and has healed you of your disease. Go in peace." We'll talk for a little bit from this song, dealing with the issue. All right, sir.
All right.
You know, there's no point in saying we don't have issues here, issues there, issues everywhere. As we live and breathe, we encounter various issues. They come in various shapes and sizes, and again, none of us are exempt. It's kind of like the scripture that says we're all sinners. It said if we say we have no sin, then we lie and the truth is not in us. Likewise, if any of us say that we have no issues, then we're falsifying the record, to say the very least. You got them.
Yeah.
Some of these issues require a little more action than simple acceptance. Well, I'm kind of short in stature. That's an issue that I've always had. I approached the grocery counter, and there's two ladies at the checkout counter. They're looking at each other and say, "Who's he looking at?" So it's like I got an issue that my eyes don't always work as they should, but they get the job done. And I simply need to accept that. But then there's those other issues that's serious enough to demand our attention and action. An illness strikes us, and perhaps we should go see a doctor, or at least consult someone besides ourselves. There's those issues that require that we get up on our tuition, do something about that. And then there are those issues that leave us in a state of desperation. We're hopeless, we're helpless. Some of our issues are even life-threatening. Has anyone been there before?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Our issues can be social. They can be economic. They can be physical. Even some of us are spiritually bankrupt. Have you ever found yourself drowning in a sea of desperation? One that requires divine intervention. One that only an act of God's mercy and grace can save us from these issues. Have you ever been there? Anyone ever been in a situation where a bad decision could have or should have taken your very life? The local hospital, the common police courtroom downtown are full of examples. Sit in the typical pastor's seat for a week or so, and you will find many of us, from the pulpit to the door, we have issues. And many of them deal with matters of life and death. And so as we approach today's text, my brothers and sisters, we discover two ladies who have issues of this latter type. You may call them life-threatening crises, if you will, but this religious official, Jairus, they tell me that also means judge. He has a young daughter, probably age 12 or so, and she's at the brink of death. Don't say that's young. In those days, they were getting married and having children at that age. But this guy Jairus, he's a religious leader. He's large and he's in charge. And as I reflect on this guy Jairus, he brings to me an interesting observation, and that is that we have a tendency to respond differently to issues that involve us on a personal level. All right. We can say goodbye so long as it doesn't affect me, but if I come running and begging to God when things strike me. He could have easily, you can check the history, he could have easily been an enemy of Christ. Jairus and folk like him, the Bible tells us they were the source of most of Jesus' persecution and death. Well, the only difference perhaps in this man and all the others is that he found that he needed God. In a very deep and personal way, he had an issue that only God can solve. Folks can hate on you, they can violate, they can isolate you until they need you for something.
Yeah. All right, preach
It's
it.
about discarding when my cupboards are on full. The rich in this world may not care about how you will deal with the growing disparity between the rich and the poor in this frail U.S. of A. I may not be concerned about police brutality when they're not shooting my sons in the back. Or I may not be concerned with the plight of the refugee or the flood victim or those affected by all of these mass shootings. They are out of sight and out of mind until they affect me directly. We know some folks just like Jairus or the judge in our text had need of Christ to deal with an issue that affected him directly. I just wonder, as I reflect on this Jairus, I just wonder if he had ever sought out Christ on the behalf of someone else. The Dayton or the Vegas, the border crisis, the racial division in this country, or the corruption in politics that Woody tried to allude to earlier. Was he upset that Christ turned aside to deal with this sinner woman who also had a life-threatening issue? Or did he say, it's not my affair. You come take care of me. After all, I'm rich, I'm powerful, I'm a man of influence. Some of us feel just that way. We don't give a doggone about the person sitting next to us. But then we have the other lady in this text. What do we really know about her? Was she Jewish? Or was she one who didn't even deserve the crumbs that fell from the master's table? She too has an issue that's life-threatening. It had her at the point of desperation. She really didn't know what to do. She was again helpless and powerless. And she had exhausted all of her resources. The text tells us, and she spent these looking for a cure. Not only was she not cured, but we're told that the situation got worse. Sometimes we can make a situation worse by putting our hands in it. And thinking we're really impressing somebody. Or impressing God. When we're just making the matter worse. And we end up coming with our tail between our legs, pleading and begging, oh Lord, have mercy. Quick history lesson tells me that she had a real issue. If you had the same issue that she had in those days, you couldn't go draw water from the well, you couldn't go to the market or prepare meals for your family, you couldn't indulge in normal activities, you know what I'm talking about, with your spouse. You use your own imagination on that one, but for all intents and purposes, this woman had died 12 long years ago. She couldn't go out in public. She couldn't touch her own children. She was isolated from the church house. I mean, even if she didn't have this issue, women in this time had to have her husband or a male in her family to speak for her in order to approach anyone in authority, especially Jesus Christ. And yet here this woman is, out in public. Isolated, desperate, and alone. How did she pull that one off? How did she get into this crowd, seeing that she had this issue for 12 long years? Surely someone in the crowd knew about it, but here she is. And I said, my brothers and sisters, that she lived in isolation, not seclusion. There's a huge difference. To be secluded can be a good thing. I can go into my prayer closet and sit there with God and cry out to Him. And before the dawn hits us, God has heard and answered my prayer. Isolation is different. When we're dealing with an issue, isolation is not a good thing. Because I'm stuck with my own selfish thinking and sick thinking. That's all I've got. No God, no fellowship of the saints, nothing. So there's a big difference there. We can still benefit from the fellowship of other believers when we're in seclusion. So we can go in seclusion with our issues. Everybody don't need to know your business. But God certainly needs to know our business.
Yes, He does.
Those who are close to us need to know our business because they're concerned about us. So it's important, in a sense, that we be willing to share with some. But you certainly don't want to be sharing intimate, personal, sensitive issues with the enemy. Lord have mercy. She still had, if she was in seclusion, she would have had the option of serving her family and doing, with her husband and all of that stuff. She would not have been ostracized around the clock had she been able to go into seclusion. And I believe that's what she was doing in this text, although she was in a crowd of people. Her only focus was on Jesus Christ. If I can just get to her, if I can just touch any part of it, if his shadow, I believe she was saying to herself, if his shadow was just to pass by me, her faith was so strong that she believed. Any contact whatsoever, Christ, she would be made well. A term they called it osmosis. It means to rub off. And I believe that when we get in just so long as we're close in proximity to the environs of God, and His grace and His mercy and His love and His power has a way of rubbing off and influencing us and making us whole. And so I'm just glad to be among the fellowship of other believers who've been to God's word, oh Lord have mercy, Bethlehem. You were my source of God until I came to know God. The crisis that I went through, being just around, being within the fellowship was all that was sufficient for a time. But I had to venture in a little bit closer. I had to get to know Him for myself. I had to touch the little hem of His garment in order to be fully made whole. I'm not saying that I'm there yet, but I'm steady in the trial to get to Jesus Christ. Because that's why we come to church. That's why we pray. That's why we fellowship. Because we want to see God. I don't need you blocking access. I don't need you standing in my way. If you can't help me get out of my way, but this woman was not in seclusion. She was isolated. And this isolation was not self-imposed. Much of her isolation was placed upon her by others, by people in the community, people who claimed they cared about her, and yet they blocked access. They kept her from Jesus Christ. And I'm not saying these people did this on purpose. So we need to be aware. We need to be aware of our surroundings. And the Bible gives us specific instructions. Some things we ought to taste not and touch not. So, the law said she had no option. She was dealing with the system of the law. Which told her, listen, you got no option. You go in the house and sit down and shut up. And hopefully this thing will pass, but if it doesn't, don't come coming around us. All my brothers and sisters, but this lady had options. In fact, in this text we see that absolutely nothing mattered but her faith. That was all that helped her to get to Jesus Christ. Absolutely nothing else.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell us that if we want to effectively deal with any issue at all, there's only three things that we have to do, and I call them the three ifs. If we pray and if we believe that God will help us, then we will be made well. I missed one, didn't I? You gotta want this thing. If I don't want it, this is a mute issue. But if I have the desire, and if God can work in me just a little bit of courage to go to Him in prayer, and then if I come away from that thing believing that my victory is at hand, then I will be made whole. This woman struggling to get to this hem, to get to this garment, she had asked herself those three questions. How did this woman, and Jairus too for that matter, find absolution? How did they get there? How did they get to where they were? I believe that they were led there by none other than God's Holy Spirit.
Well,
folks, let's keep leaving. Let's quit leaving the Spirit out of the equation. The Spirit is the one who's actually in operation right now. I can't see Jesus unless the Spirit enables me. I can't come to God unless the Spirit enables me. I can't love my enemy.
Come on.
I'm going to love my enemy. You done just stuck me in my eye. I'm going to resist the temptation to poke you back. Only the Holy Spirit can keep me from that. So He's an important part of the equation.
Yes, He is.
The Apostle Paul says, I believe in the book of Colossians, he said, it is God acting in you that causes you to will and to act according to His good purpose. We can't do no good without God. And God shows up by way of His Holy Spirit in this day and time. And so it's very important that we keep that in mind. And what I really like as I look at this text is the idea that God is no respecter of persons. He cares for each and every one of us. And because of Christ, she found her solution, this woman. When all the options are gone, when our issues put us in a state of desperation, and when we have exhausted all of our resources, those things that we think we have, my brothers and sisters, this is the exact time that God comes to our rescue. Just when the haters make us into villains, it's just the time when God makes us into victors in Christ. Just when we are tempted to isolate ourselves with only our sick thoughts and solutions to guide us, it's the proper time to call upon the Holy Spirit of God to help us. And He will. We can't do this without Him. Children used to sing, yes, Jesus loves me. And red, yellow, black, or white, we are precious in His sight. God cares for each and every one of us. It doesn't matter what your issues are. Christ is the solution. It doesn't matter what you look like or what you think you don't have or what you think you have. Wherever you are, He loves us. Wherever we are. The world may condemn us and label us as unclean, just like they did this woman. But God has the desire and the power to deliver us from all of our infirmities. Well, I'm discovering only recently that all of our issues have already been solved a long, long time ago. When we have faith to exercise those three ifs, if we have the courage to reach out and touch the proverbial hem of Jesus' garment. It will sound simple enough. You all see that. getting kind of repetitious there. He's telling us the same thing over and over. Yeah, that's true, but few of us are willing until we get into a position where we can do nothing else. That's been my experience.
Well,
I will always look to my own resources. And once I've exhausted all of those, then I start to think about God. Consider this woman with the issue of blood. It says right in the text that she suffered for 12 long years. Now here she comes. What use is she really to God? Remember your Creator in the days of your youth. So that it might go well with us, so that we might see Him as our solution. Hopefully it don't take me 12 long years with the issue before I surrender that thing, before I turn that thing over to God.
all right now.
And you show up broke, busted, and disgusted. You certainly have an issue if you're in that situation. Lord have mercy. So it doesn't matter what you think you have. It sounds like this woman had means in the beginning, and that's right. She had means. She had exhausted them all, trying to find a solution to this matter. But she came to Christ anyway, and that's the important thing. We get there when we get there. And what the point is that most of us are broke, busted, and disgusted when we get there. Right? God has a solution for that too. And it's called grace. And it's called mercy. And He's still able to help us and help us. You have to consider the socio and economic dynamics of that time in history. This woman, if she was able to spend resources for 12 years, she was extremely blessed and highly favored. Because women in that time couldn't even feed themselves, let alone provide any medical care. Pay for a doctor? I don't think so. You're a woman? Women caught the blues in those days. So this text implies to us that with God, it doesn't matter who you are. And I look at this evangelical church, the big capital E, not the small e. Every church ought to be evangelical. But you don't take that which is God's and turn it into a religion. You don't turn it into a thing. And so that's what you see in the church today. And I can't talk like this at Pilgrim. Because I got some Trump thumpers over there. I got some people who say, why don't you just let him do his job? They find an excuse for every indiscrepancy that he can come up with. But you know, we're in a pickle, folks. We're in a bad way. This nation, first of all, the world has me. But then this nation has me. Well, the church has an issue. We got issues in our homes. Sometimes we're empty nesters right now, and it sounds like the house, feels like the house that got smaller sometimes. You know, we got along better than this when we had kids and grandkids and dogs and cats and all of that. And here we are, and I'm just playing. I hope you all of that, but Lord have mercy. But women caught the blues in this day. This text applies to us that it doesn't matter who you are, what you've done, where you've been. You are not out of God's reach. You got God. Tell me God can see everything. I don't believe God can see a sinner that He can't save. So there you have it. It doesn't matter who you are, what you've done. None of that matters when it comes to the saving grace of Jesus Christ. That does not cancel out that law of sowing and reaping. You still. You still gonna pay for what you did. But God is gracious in that way.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter who you are. I remember it's been almost 5 years ago to this date that I woke up in the hospital. I had been in a coma for several weeks. I was on dialysis. I was just a huge mess. I was out of my mind. I was talking crazy. What I said, Brother Amy, got preached J.C. Penney's funeral. I was talking some crazy stuff. But when I woke up, I had good insurance. I had a huge team of doctors, and I was in one of the best medical facilities in the area, so they tell me. But you know, at the end of the day, all I really had was and I tell you what, I had to humble myself. I had to say, Lord, I'm going to trust you. Please help me. And only then did I started to get better. I committed my trust to God alone, and I got better. No, it's not to say that the church wasn't praying. I believe my wife was praying. I want to believe that some people from Bethlehem were praying for me as well. And yet the doctors were still telling me that there was very little hope. Telling those around me, if you come up out of here, you're going to come with a tray. And you're going to a nursing facility. And I said, no, I ain't. like I was in charge. I wasn't in charge.
Well,
but you know, today I had no trade. I went home from the hospital. I was in a wheelchair and all of that, but you know, I can walk and talk today. I'm probably still out of my mind, you know. 3 out of 4 ain't bad. But again, my brothers and sisters, it was the 3 years. If I want to get well, if I pray, if I believe, there ain't nothing that God can do. We need to be encouraged by that. We're letting the world beat us up. And throw all of these distractions at us. That's the reason many of us can't grow in the grace and knowledge of Jesus. Because we fall for this world and the various distractions that they have for us. You know, the mall and places, that stuff that got old. Now you got internet cafes on every corner. I mean, use your own imagination with that, but there's a lot going on. And then we're unwilling to wait on God's timing. You know, in the fullness of time, God does these things for us, not just because we tell Him to. That's part of the problem. We're trying to tell God instead of allowing God to tell us. But if we exercise those 3 years, what's that old Negro spiritual that said, He may not come when you want Him? You always finish that. He's always on time. So I need to close this thing out, but when dealing with an issue, we must be bold in our faith. When the storms of life come and beat on our doors, even if our faith is weak, the solution is still the same. We can ask God, like the guy said in the gospel, Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief. You know, I've had some issues that I thought was too big for God, to be honest with you. But when God showed up, Lord is sufficient. And I thought what the crazy weed waving in the wind was the mighty and powerful hand of God Almighty. That still small voice can also appear as thunder and lightning. So God is good and He's able. When I'm in doubt, I simply ask God to help me. Look again at this woman. In this particular culture, a woman in her condition was isolated. she was isolated. That ought to say something to us. We need to be careful how we treat one another, how we talk to one another, how we walk in front of the young people in our midst, because that oftentimes that makes the day. We suffer over at Pilgrim. We got a huge pantry on Thursday. We might serve 200 or 300 families, but they're running around crying, talking about, well, we're not getting any return on our investment because the people aren't coming upstairs. They're not coming to worship. That's right. They're not coming to worship because perhaps worship ain't taking place up there. Maybe they're watching the way you treat them down here. They're making an assertion as to what's going to be going on upstairs. If anything, you just going to act like a hypocrite based on the way you treated them down here. So again, any issue that we have, I don't care where it is, how big it is, or anything like that, God is the solution.
Yes, He is. Yes, He is.
God is the way. God tells us not to repay evil for evil.
That's right.
Evil with good. But I saw one of y'all cussing somebody out when they cut you off the other day. Lord have mercy. God already knows us. That's not the issue. The issue is that we need to know God. And God wants us to know Him. He wants us to know Him in the pardon of our sins. He wants us to know Him and the power of His resurrection. He wants us to know Him as a friend that sticks closer than a brother. He wants us to know Him as one who can meet all of our needs. Because He of His riches and glory. And so again, there you have it, my brothers and sisters. I'm going to rush to my seat. It's a blessing to be here with you all once again, dealing with an issue. He wants us to seek Him on the behalf of other people.
Well,
So we're here now that there are far too many armchair Christians. We're content to just sit in our seat and watch the world go by. We may get out and protest a little bit, but statistics tell me we don't vote. When the kids are cussing and doing different stuff in our neighborhood, we don't say anything to correct them. We don't attend. I owe some amends to my children because when they were younger, because I wasn't a sports fan, it didn't affect me directly, then I wasn't willing to go to any game. But hopefully I'm making somewhat of an improvement by trying to attend one of my grandson's games.